Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I would like to send this quotation to all the NFL players and other prima donna athletes. Quote, "Those who would disrespect our flag have never been handed a folded one." Think about it. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call me, call me, call me. Good morning on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you and your family and all the people at your office, your business, etc. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
I am. I figured I'd do it this morning.
All right, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I appreciate it, Wheels. Thank you. It's good to have you back, buddy. And right now, let's just sail right on to the weather. Brought to everybody by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Number to call, Roger and the crew over there, 678-3122. And they're open Monday through Friday, 7 to 5:30, Saturday, 7 to 6. And they've got everything over there, such as forklifts, power tools, lawnmowers, everything. And they've been in business since 1979, serving you. K&R Rental in Heyburn. And right now, here's the weather. Here's the weather. And here's the weather. Wheels, did you check on that?
I did, and we had it loaded, but it must have not went into the right program, so I'm going to have to talk to Scotty and Gina about it and make sure that it's loaded for...
All right, just go get it taken care of right away, buddy, and then let me know when you got it. And I want to say apologies to K&R Rental for not having that weather ready to go, but we certainly know they're ready to go. They will deliver and pick up power tools and heavy equipment at your site, and they've got everything for you and all the experience to make sure that you get the right tools and equipment for your spring projects, summer projects, fall projects, whenever you're doing some work. K&R Rental, also a Honda engine dealer, and they've got all the parts you might need for your wheel lines. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, 678-3122. Apologize for not having that weather forecast. It should have been locked and loaded. And right now we also want to remind you about Burley and Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. The number to call for cattle consignments for this Thursday's sale or sale information, 678-9411. 678-9411. Merv May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Udy, the sale that works for you. So don't forget, Thursday sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Thank you very much. We've got quite a few different subjects to talk about this morning, and I also want to remind you that at 9:30 this morning, we're going to have a gentleman on the air by the name of Rahim Kassam, and he has written a book called No-Go Zones, and the subtitle, How Sharia Law is Coming to a Neighborhood Near Us. The word you is in there, but I'm just saying us. And he was on Tucker Carlson last night, and Tucker did not give him a very good interview. As a matter of fact, didn't even take the time to really discuss his book, and there were other things pressing with, like the helicopter landing at the White House or in New York with Trump, etc. And I just thought that he didn't get a fair shake. So we've got him lined up on our program for this morning and looking forward to it at 9:30. Once again, I want to remind you about Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And boy, if you've got dry cleaning that needs to be done, and dry cleaning prolongs the life of your clothes. And why pay a lot of money for them if all of a sudden after about 3 or 4 washings, oh brother, they look ugly. Dry clean them and take them to Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley for absolutely the best treatment. Every time I take my Rumply Crumplies in there, they come back to me looking brand spanking new at Daryl's Cleaners. Absolutely the best. You stop in and see them in Burley today. And as you know, the Cassia County Fair is in full swing. We'll just say it's day 2. And they've got so much going on, all the entertainment on the free stage, and they're having team ranch sortings. And tomorrow, we want to highlight that at 10:30 tomorrow morning, they're going to have that great big parade in downtown Burley. So make sure that you're in attendance. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the big PRCA rodeo at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. 2017 Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. North Korea has blinked. I don't know how else to say it. North Korea blinked. Yesterday on my program, we acknowledged that we had one of the foremost authorities on what's going on in the world today, and that's Dr. Gerard Lamero. And he said yesterday morning in his segment that he thought Kim Jong-un would back off. And he said that he thought he would back off relatively soon. Well, it was within the next 24 hours. North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un evidently decided not to fire ballistic missiles at Guam, but he did say that he reserves the right to change his mind if, quote, the Yankees persist in their extremely dangerous, reckless actions. What those are, I'm not quite sure. But then he goes on to say, and I want you to listen carefully to these words of Kim Jong-un. In order to diffuse the tensions and prevent the dangerous military conflict on the Korean Peninsula, it is necessary for the United States to make proper option first and show it through action, North Korea said. And then Kim Jong-un stated that if the Yankees persist in their extremely dangerous, reckless actions on the Korean Peninsula and in its vicinity, testing the self-restraint of the DPRK, Republic of China, the latter will make an important decision, as it already declared, warning the United States that it should think reasonably and judge properly, not to suffer shame that it is hit by North Korea. So, in other words, Kim Jong-un realized that he would be turned into ashes, and he took what he thought was a diplomatic way out of saying, well, we've decided not to fire on the United States, and we're reserving the right to change our mind, but the United States better shape up. What are your thoughts about this? Please give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to hear your opinion on this back down by North Korea. Well, I'm waiting for your calls that I know are coming in. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. Number to call, 678-0459. And they do have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. My goodness sakes, it's all there. They've been in business for over a half a century, serving you with the best at Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Please stop in and see them today. Great folks, Ramsey Heating and Electric. By the way, too, I want to mention that Denny's Restaurant, I had just a little bitty tiny bowl of cereal this morning at 4 o'clock, and yeah, I am having hunger pangs. And when I talk about the menu and I talk about the great service over at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, I start to drool all over the microphone. 611 North Overland and Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And if you have not tried the wide array of different pancakes that they have, my favorite, the strawberry cream, delicious. And, of course, all the burgers, all the different lunch and breakfast and dinner menus. It's fantastic at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And, by the way, we had somebody call yesterday, and they said, when's Lunch Bunch? Well, it's going to be next week on Thursday the 24th. Next week on Thursday the 24th. All right, let's get some calls in here. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, from Charlottesville, Virginia, to the crackpots and the stupids on the left, to the crackpots and the stupids on the far right, we all need to restore the respect and the pride in this great country, America. Now, I've said this in the past, and I've got the tapes from my webmaster and the guy that runs everything for me, John Ellis. I could not stand Barack Obama. I did not like the man to any degree, but I wanted him to be a good president. I've said that on the air. And when a president is a good president for this country, the United States of America, we all succeed. We all live better. We all can achieve much more. Barack Obama did not do that. He was an absolute failure for us, the United States of America. Obama's policies of do nothing, and I dare somebody to tell me I'm wrong on this, he capitulated or did nothing on world security issues, and all he did was draw more red lines in the sand so it looked like a monopoly board, has put us to where we are now. And I heard a news report this morning that says Iran, and this is so threatening, but yet, on the other hand, it is so stupid. Iran is threatening to break the nuclear deal with the Obama administration, and they're threatening to break the nuclear deal. Break it? They never adhered to it. And that's the kind of idiocy and incompetency I'm throwing at the Obama administration. A complete waste of 8 years. And putting us into a very dangerous and precarious situation. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I feel lonesome about my friends calling me. While I'm waiting for your call, I'm also going to tell you about some of the great merchants in Burley and the area that are supporting, of course, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. And they include Pickett Equipment Company at 976 East Main in Burley. Steve and the whole crew at Pickett Equipment Company with the best of bean equipment, the one-step rod cutter, the Twin Master edible bean combines, and so much more. Shipping equipment all over the United States. Pickett Equipment Company urges you to come to the Cassia County Fair. And don't forget the goodie shop. I mean, how could you ever name a business better than that? Because that's what it is. The Goody Shop at 133 East Main in Burley with Shelley and the whole crew. I mean, all the sandwiches and the drinks and the cookies and the brownies and everything. Oh, it's good. Call them and send a gift to somebody or just enjoy yourself. 647-0106, The Goody Shop. And, of course, Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley. And, of course, they can build your steel buildings just the way you want them. Agricultural, industrial, and community buildings, they do it all. Tim and the rest of the crew at 431-7314. They can and will help you at Streamline Precision in Burley. All of them urging you to go to and be a part of the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. I want to hear the moo of that cow. I mean, man alive, what's going on? Everybody sleep in this morning? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There we go. I was getting lonesome. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello.
That little fat porker up there finally opened up his window, and he saw the posse showing up. What he didn't realize is that Donald Trump is three different people. He is Donald Trump, he is Teddy Roosevelt, and he's General George Patton, all wrapped up in one. You're not going to push this guy around.
You know, Tony, that's one of the best analogies and personal caricatures of Donald Trump that I've heard. I like that. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, he finally, after he opened his windows, he probably saw 5,000 bombers headed his way. He saw his runways being destroyed, his missile setup turned to ashes, and they figured he was going to be next in that little hut that he's living in.
You know, and that's really true, because I can just see this. He's such an obnoxious person. Just to look at him, fat, corpuscly, completely out of shape, never done a day's work in his life, and I can see him throwing open the shades, and here comes a missile with his name on it, and he's going, "Holy rice bowls, this is it."
Absolutely. I knew from the start he wasn't going to push Trump around. He's not the type of guy you're going to do that with. He's all business.
And I think and I hope that the Democrats and the Republicans would also find that out. I am fed up with the in-party fighting on behalf of the Republicans and, of course, the stupidity by the Democrats.
You know, the trouble is we got so many liberals out there that are, and some Republicans that are using our judicial system against us.
Yeah.
We can't make a move without being sued. This thing with Robert E. Lee.
Oh.
They want his statue removed.
Where does...
Look at the situation. We've got Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
What do? We take his statues down, Booker T. Washington.
Yeah.
We've got any statues of him, we have to destroy that.
Wait a minute, though.
We're in a ridiculous situation in this country.
Where does it end? Now, let's talk about this just for a quick second here, Tony. Where does it end? I mean, are we going to draw the line at Robert E. Lee, or are we going to draw the line at, like you said, Booker T. Washington or whomever? No more tearing down these statues after that? Or is the left going to say, you know what? We've got to erase all of the statues of Thomas Jefferson. He was a slave owner. We've got to get rid of all the statues, and we've got to replace the caricature of George Washington on our money because he was a slave owner. Where does it end, my friend?
It's going to be a tough situation because you're going to have people go into every office and take every picture down of every historical person that they didn't like.
Yep.
I mean, how stupid can these Democrats be and these liberals?
Well, you've left a wide open question right there. How stupid can they be? And evidently, we don't know how high is up because they amaze me as to how much more stupid they are every day.
I don't know, Zeb. I'm glad we've got a leader in there that's done more in 6 months than that blunderer we had for 8 years as a president did in 8 years.
I agree with you. Tony, you brought up a really good subject, and I thank you for that. God bless you and Mary, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Zed.
You know, Tony brought up the fact about how these left-wing nuts tearing down and smashing the statues and memorabilia items from the Civil War. Robert E. Lee was a very respected general on both sides of the Civil War. There was a lot of respect there. And I've said this before on my program, and I'm really amazed that more people haven't chimed in on this. But why are we so hell-bent trying to eradicate, whitewash, diminish, and erase our past? Why? It's been proven in societies all around the world through time immortal that when there's a whitewashing or an erasing of history, history repeats itself, only it comes down a lot harder the second time or third time or whatever. And the Civil War with the Robert E. Lee and the Beauregard, and I forgot Beauregard's last name. I wanted to see. I'll think of it in a minute. And all the other personalities and characters of the Civil War, to tear them down and act like it never happened, act like the South and its heritage is absolutely going to be painted over and there isn't any history or heritage. This is pathetic. What are your thoughts on this? Or are you a member of the left that thinks, out of sight, out of mind, can't have it, take it out of the history books, don't have any statues, erase it, destroy it, it's got to go? But where does it stop? Where does it end? Call me at 436-2244. Come on, give me a call. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Let's not forget our dear friends, and they are Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Don't forget, they can help you get back to being you. All you have to do is just take the initiative and call, make the appointment at 678-1191. 678-1191. They've got the hydrotherapy pool. They know all the exercises. Like I said, the sports medicine, everything to get you back in your tip-top condition. So please give them a call. Make an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't you dare go away. I'll be right with you. Also want to remind everybody about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. And the public is invited to visit the facility anytime and check it out for the possibility of your loved one staying there. Please give them a call, find out more. They're the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center in Rupert, 436-3200. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm calling you about what you've been saying. Those of us who forget our history are bound to repeat it. And that's why we need those reminders in our capitals around our country. You tear down those monuments, and you think you're erasing the memory of what happened. No, you are just allowing a new generation of people to come up with even more heinous things. And our history is checkered, of course. And we should be proud of it, because the United States has gone to the gutter sometimes, and yet we still continue to bounce back. But if we don't remember what's happened before us, we'll just repeat it again.
Chris, have you ever been in the South?
Yes, I've been to some parts, not very much, but yes.
I have extensively been in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, the southern part of Missouri, Arkansas. And the pride in that part of the country, in the United States, they're a very prideful people. And they are a very gung-ho people when it comes to supporting the United States of America. But they are also very prideful of their heritage and their past, of which many family names and members of families are related to the great generals and the great leadership that they had during the Civil War. And I think it's absolutely a blow to the chin, a sock to the nose, to take and destroy their heritage and take down and destroy figures like Robert E. Lee and burn them and break them up. I think that's absolutely a civil war in itself.
Well, and what would Europe say, or the earlier civilizations say, if we went into their countries and said, tear down those awful reminders of what was terrible in the past? Do you know what? You need to remember what was terrible in the past so that you'll strive to make it better every day that you get up.
Yeah, but you can't sit there and, I say you, I mean the general populace, cannot sit there and denigrate, let's use Robert E. Lee again, a great general, a great man, a great mind. And you can't destroy an image of many people that were related to him, many people that absolutely respect what he did trying to help the people in the South. You can't just throw that out of history and say you can't ever hold him in reverement again because he is not welcome. We're going to trash him.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. We've got the snowflakes out there,
yep,
and they're all melting. And the trouble is that they do not know how to get up out of their little puddle and create a new resolve for this country. I blame it on probably about 2 generations, some of which the parents in those generations have protected their kids from every little thing, even if they get a sticker in their toe.
Yeah.
And this is just not right. You've got to be aware that life is not that way.
Chris, I wish there were more people like you and your common sense. God bless you for your call. You are always welcome. Thank you so much.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I like the message Donald Trump sent to the world with Kim Jong-un. He sent the message to the world, him and Mattis, that, hey, you threaten us, you want to do something against us, you haven't seen anything yet.
Well, let me ask you something, Doug, and this is kind of rude, but how old are you right now? I know you're younger than I am, but how old are you?
65.
All right, you're younger, but not by taking you out of the generation that you and I grew up in. So you do remember, and you should, what happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis with John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev.
Oh, yeah.
There were harsh words and statements by both sides at that time. John F. Kennedy being a Democrat, and the Democrats seem to forget the harsh statements and the nose-to-nose, chin-to-chin attitude that was going on. I can remember, Doug, where I was exactly when the radio broadcast came out the night before, and it said, we may be in a nuclear war within the next few hours if the Russians do not pull back from trying to put their missiles into Cuba. And it was a very precarious and dangerous situation. A lot was said. But tell me, what is so much different by our president, Donald Trump, looking into the eyes of Kim Jong-un and not blinking and saying, go ahead and fire that first missile because we will level you like a parking lot? I respect what he did.
I respect it, too, and I respect John F. Kennedy for what he did. If the Democrats today had the standards and morals of John F. Kennedy, we wouldn't be where we are at in this country. They have lost the morals they had when John F. Kennedy was president.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
And now where Trump is they don't like Trump. Like somebody heard the other day on one of the newscasts or interview or something said, if Donald Trump invented a cure for cancer, or created a cure for cancer, they would say he created cancer so he could create a cure for it.
Yeah, it's just insane. But let me ask you this about going back to the Southern relationship and the left just going bonkers. And if you, Doug Martin, and I decided to put a rope around a statue that we didn't like. Okay, let's say that in my hometown of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, and this is true, on Highway 26 going out of Fort Atkinson, there is a bronze statue of a World War I soldier carrying a rifle in one hand and about ready to throw a grenade in the other hand. Let's say that all the left didn't like that and they went over and toppled that this morning. I mean, what's the difference between what they would do there or, conversely, down in the South?
Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing. They're erasing history. So if you do not learn from the past, you're going to make the same mistakes over and over.
Amen.
And you start tearing these things down, does that mean if you get rid of all the Civil War monuments of the Civil War generals and everything, does that mean slavery didn't happen either? I mean, you cannot erase it. We need to learn from it and move on and become better.
Yes, I could not agree more. Doug, common sense has got to prevail. And there's something else with common sense. Caller number 2, I'm coming. I'll be right there. Along with common sense today, honestly, and for those that are offended by this statement, it's too bad. We've got to get God and principles of the Bible back into our daily life because that is sorely lacking.
Exactly. And I got to go. Everybody, take care of your senior centers.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Don't you go away. I appreciate it. And I want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts. And they've got 3 locations to serve you, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and, of course, don't forget 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Whoa, they've got all the equipment to get the job done right. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, and all the Bobcat excavators. I had somebody call me the other day and say, "You're going to get a Bobcat?" I said, "Yes, I need one." And they said, "Oh boy, look out, fences." Well, listen, they'll give you a little crash course, bad word, crash course, to go out in the sandbox and learn how to run one, but they have everything. Berry Equipment and Rental. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All the equipment to get the job done right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I missed you yesterday morning because I was having 7-day surgery.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, Sunday, I was just beside myself for the way our president was treated. Not just by NBC and CNN and everything, but even Fox.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't single out the David Dukes and name everybody one by one. I couldn't see what the problem was with the speech he made. He was talking about everybody.
Let me ask you a question, real short answer on this. The condemnation of Donald Trump saying Donald Trump in his first words after this debacle in Virginia, oh, he didn't sound harsh enough, oh, he didn't announce that. But yet, remember back to Ferguson, Missouri? What did Obama do after all the mess and the racist comments and the shooting and everything else after Ferguson? He did nothing. He waited for about 48 to 72 hours before he said anything about it, and there was no outcry from the left. I am sick and tired of the perverted, sick, absolutely mindless left.
I am too. And this little sap, roly-poly, he reminds me of the Doughboy, or the...
Pillsbury Doughboy, yeah.
Pillsbury Doughboy, yeah. But anyway, I'll tell you a quick story about a friend of mine.
Real fast, Keith.
A friend of yours.
Okay.
His name is Lon Hatch, and he used to be a real rounder, always picking a fight with somebody. But anyway, one day he picked a fight with somebody who turned out to be quite a bit bigger than he was. This guy knocked him on his can, and as the guy picked him up and drew his fist back, Lon said, "Have you had enough?" And the guy just turned him loose right there. Now that's just like this little fat doughboy telling the United States, "Okay, we won't hit you this time because you give in." You know, it just wasn't right.
Well, I'll tell you what, time over the next couple of days, possibly extending into weeks, are really going to tell the story about North Korea and the back down by Kim Jong-un. Keith, hope you're feeling better. Got to get a weather forecast in here. God bless you, man. Thanks much.
You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to just say this before I go to the weather forecast. Did you folks hear about Hillary Clinton's supposed, I underline that word, pastor? And this really offends me. Maybe this won't have the same offense to you as it did to me, but supposedly Hillary's pastor compared her election loss to the death of Jesus. Let those words soak in for a moment. Her pastor compared Hillary Clinton's loss in the election to the death of Jesus. That offends me as a Christian. It offends me in a absolutely mindless, stupid comparison. And this same pastor was caught plagiarizing various statements and copy for his new book. But I don't know. Come on, tell me. I want somebody to call me. Does this not offend you that kind of a statement? Well, Hillary's loss was the same as the crucifixion of Jesus. That is repulsive to me. Caller, what are your thoughts? Give me a call right now. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb. You know, it's really interesting how the pastors used to be when de Tocqueville came over here in the 1830s from France, found out that the greatness of America was the sermons flaming of righteousness to the congregations. He said that was the greatness of America. But today we have various seminaries that basically turn out socialist, Marxist, and those, they have an agenda. And obviously Hillary's pastor is one of those. The Union Theological Seminary is one of those that, you know, we just think that all pastors are Christians.
Yeah.
But here's the whole deal. You know, Christians don't become communists, but sometimes communists become pastors and ministers. And that's exactly what's happened to this country, along with everything else that's been happening, Zeb.
Well, I'm very much offended by that statement. Maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong viewpoint, but to compare an election loss, Hillary Clinton's election loss, to the death of Jesus Christ, you have got to, this is absolutely insane to me.
Well, it is. Absolutely, Zeb. I totally agree with you. I mean, yeah, this is the kind of leftist spin that comes out there, and I don't know that they're ever going to get over the loss that Hillary actually lost the election. She was the shoe-in, and Trump was a nobody, and they beat him down, and still he won because us deplorables out there went to the polls and elected Trump.
Absolutely.
The media hasn't let up ever since.
Absolutely. You know,
and, you know, it was very interesting. Just, you know, Stump issued
Trump, issued a statement about the riots and so forth there in South Carolina or North Carolina, and yet the media didn't play that. And they said, well, they never made a response for two days. Total lie. But what you're saying is right. This comparison of the loss of Hillary to the death of Jesus Christ, where he took upon himself the sins of the world and then was resurrected again. As far as I know, I didn't see Hillary didn't die, and she certainly wasn't resurrected like Jesus was. And to make that kind of comparison is absolutely unbelievable.
I agree with you, and I've got to do a weather forecast, but I'm glad you called on that subject. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Adrian. Thank you. Yep, thank you. No, that really offends. I never will forget. I got to share this quick story with you. It happened back around the 1st of March, right in that area. I had a lady call me after the program one day on my cell phone, which I readily give out that number 312-2976 for people that call me or cowards after the program. And she called me and she just railed at me. You're never fair to the left. You're always denigrating the Democrats. You're always denigrating their policies. You're not fair and blah, 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 blah. And finally she took a breath of air. And I said, ma'am, you're 100% right. I don't like them. And she didn't know what to say, and she hung up. I mean, I agreed with her. I don't like them. I don't like their politics. I don't like their ideology. I don't like them. And I'm very open and forthright on the program. How else do you want me to be except honest? Weather forecast being brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And let me tell you, if you're having trouble hearing, you need to get a hold of Dr. Christine Pickup today for a hearing screening. They are the best at what they do. Call the number 312-0957. Make an appointment today at the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather as we saddle up and ride again for this Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day as we head on into Cache County Fair Week. Sunny skies with a high of 82. Tonight we're looking at a slight breeze, mostly clear, low of 53. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 85. Looks like sunny and 86 for Thursday. As we get closer to the weekend, Friday and Saturday, looks like sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
And thank you very much. I appreciate it, Gina. The weather forecast, again, sponsored this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. Boy, I'll tell you what, they know hearing. And true hearing healthcare should include tools and techniques, and they have all of that at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Make an appointment, 312-0957. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear this? I guess maybe I'm from the old school, you know? I just can't understand how a terrorist group like ISIS, a killing, absolutely Islamic group like ISIS, can have a magazine. Now, hang on, caller, I'll be right there. Have a magazine, and it goes all over the world, this Inspire magazine. And in the magazine, put out by terrorist killers, they're telling everybody that now they're going to start going after our rail system, our trains, subways, etc. That's the new terror. They're telling everybody what they're going to do in a magazine. This is insane. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, one thing I forgot to tell you before. I think the little porker remembered or found out something about Admiral Yamamoto when he said that we have awakened the sleeping giant. I think he's just finding that out.
I like to have been a mouse in the corner listening with a amplifier system to Kim Jong-un when he finally looked at the rest of his staff and around the table and went, oops. You're right, Tony. I agree with you, buddy. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
All right, appreciate it. You know, really, it would have been kind of, I hate to use the word funny in this situation, but it would have been interesting to have been along with the advisors for this little short, repulsive man, Kim Jong-un. And when they all got together and they went around the table, who had the guts, literally, to look him in the eye and say, Kim, I think maybe we'd better not do this because we may be toast tomorrow morning. Who had the guts to tell him that? I mean, this guy has killed, destroyed members of his own family. He's not a human being whatsoever with any thoughts of kindness, love, etc. But boy, whoever the advisor was that raised his hand and said, excuse me, sir, I feel like if we go ahead and throw a missile at Guam, that we may be seeing our last day on Earth. I mean, that guy that did that or suggested that, he's got a little crust. Because I certainly don't think it was Kim Jong-un himself. Doesn't appear to have the qualities of common sense or any smarts. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. You know, don't you get a little tired of the arrogancy and the, egomaniac system that seems to purvey itself in the Republican Party? The Karl Roves. You know, Karl, there's something about this guy that when he is on, I don't care if it's Fox News or wherever it is, I couldn't care less, but the smugness, the I am Karl Rove and I am the architect of winning elections attitude, I don't like that guy. I don't like the self-servient attitude that he has to where I'm going to tell everybody how good I am. I'm going to tell everybody how bad Trump is. I'm going to tell everybody the mistakes Trump has made. Trump won the presidency. Karl Rove predicted when he threw his hat in the ring that he would be a laugh-out. Karl Rove was dead wrong. And they still won't do anything but be condescending to Donald Trump. And I watched him last night on television, and Karl, do the world a favor. Fade away. Fade into darkness. Go hide behind a bunch of trees, whatever. But you take like Karl Rove, and you take Mitch McConnell, and Ryan, and the rest of them. I am so fed up with their greasy, sticky, I'm holier than thou attitude in the Republican Party, instead of getting to work, holding hands together, and going for the main cause, and that's toppling the left in this country and establishing some values. They're not doing it. They are not doing it. And I point my finger at Karl Rove especially because he's a member of the establishment and, quite frankly, gives me a severe pain in the... Well, he does. Let's not forget our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Get where you're going this summer with the best of tires on your pickups, SUVs, cars, trailers, whatever, from all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, the thing is, they care about the service, and you drive in there, and you tell them what you need, and boy, bim, bam, boom, they are at a gallop, and they really take care of you. And also, with the best of brake service, and, of course, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, the whole 9 yards. They do really want you to get where you're going this summer and then turn around and come back home safely. Yes, sirree. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, absolutely the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We are, Wheels, are we getting a little static on the line here this morning? I wanted to ask you, I'm starting to hear a little fuzz every now and then. How's it sound over there?
To me, it sounds perfectly fine.
Okay.
I hear a little bit of the fuzz, like you said, but nothing too bad that would cause us to have to change lines.
All right, let me know going in the next hour how it sounds, old buddy. We're going to take a little break and send it over to CBS News, and then at 9:06 we've got Ryan Samples with the Cassia County Fair, and then at 9:30 Raheem Kassam. Don't miss that interview. It's really interesting about no-go zones and Sharia law coming to the United States. So, very interesting. 10:06, Dr. History, Gary Shorsman filling in. And then at 10:32, one of the great articles by John Zamerek of The Stream. And that's going to be really interesting. So, we're going to get ready to send it back over to our main studio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your phone calls. Don't quit. We welcome you. It's your program. Be a part of it. Zeb at the Ranch. And right now, Wheels, take it away. Good morning, and Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
So many things to help you, like the Go Minis storage units, and of course all the dumpsters in various sizes. I mean, the list goes on and on. The porta potties, and of course the route service every week to get rid of your garbage. And believe me, they're loyal to the community and the people that they serve. And we're talking about Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. By the way, if you've got animals, whether they're large or small, and they love them all at Arc Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. And the number to call if you have an emergency or you need your pets worked on, whatever, 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. As I said, a mixed animal practice, and they do take care of your animals. Dr. Bill and the whole crew, very nice people, voted Minnecacha's best veterinary hospital multiple years. Arc Animal Hospital, 678-1177. We've got a guest on the air momentarily, but I want to also remind you about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, absolutely serving you in a time of need. And, you know, they've got flexible hours. They're not there just 9 to 5. They are there when you need them there. And they can travel to the rural towns and churches to help you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one. And always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please write this number down. Call them for any questions, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Well, I'll bet you this guy already is starting to feel the effects of no sleep and going 24/7 right now. Ryan Samples with the Cassia County Fair. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, I'm still alive.
Are you taking no dose there, Bunky?
Oh, Mountain Dew, stuff like that. Yeah, anything we can do to stay alive.
Well, now tell me, here we are on Tuesday, and give us a thumbnail sketch of what Ryan Samples is running to, going to be at. Tell us what's going on.
Well, today we got to set up for the team sorting. There'll be team sorting tonight. I think starts at 7. There's been swine weigh-in today. There's a dog show going on now. Beef's come in later. So we're just running every direction.
Well, now, Ryan, how did the Moto Rodeo go?
It was good, well attended. I think they've got 100. They had 100 contestants that started out, and 2.5 hours. They've got it whittled down halfway. Then tomorrow night they'll finish out the races, and we're going to have some freestyle motocross jumpers in here. So it should be a good show tomorrow night at 8 again.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you're going to go over one of the jumps?
Yeah, I'm going to go over it, but I'm going to be walking.
Appreciate your honesty. Hey, man, tomorrow, I know that you got to get up early and you got to put on your best duds, your Wranglers, and your best shirt and everything, because you're going to be in the parade at 10:30. Tell us about it.
Parade starts 10:30, starting at 27th in Overland, and comes down to Overland and Maine. Make a turn towards the fairgrounds, and that's the parade route. I know that I think the lineup for the parade starts at 7 a.m. at the high school, and I think this year, from what I've heard, it's a first come, first served deal. You don't have to get a number. You just show up and get in line and go through the parade.
Okay, now tell us a little bit. I know the last time you were on the air, we didn't talk too much about this, but I want to give a lot of shout-out and credits to the 4-H and FFA. Tell us about what's going on with their categories and different classes at the fair.
Oh, today we had swine weigh in, so we've got, and then today there's a sheep show. Tomorrow, today is quality on sheep. Tomorrow, showmanship on the sheep after the parade. Then Thursday and Friday we've got the beef and the swine shows. There's turkey show, rabbit show. I don't know when all the days are and all that stuff. They start blending together this time of the so far in the week. I know it's early, but they're starting to blend together for me.
Well, now tell us a little bit too. I had a lady call me the other day after you were on the air, and they were very interested in going out to the fair and just sitting down by the free stage and enjoying the entertainment. Can you highlight some of the entertainers?
Yeah, on the free stage, starting Thursday will be the first big day of the shows. 2 o'clock we've got the hypnotist. 3 o'clock we've got the amazing Arthur, and then they come on again at 4 and 5 and 7 and 8, I believe. They do 3 shows a day, and then there's entertainment in between there, and so we've got it full, and there should be some interesting acts, some new acts that nobody's seen. So come out and enjoy it. Sit there and have some food.
Absolutely. Boy, let's talk about the food. Now, I'll guarantee you, if there's anything I miss, it's those maple bars, and you can't go to a fair without having a cheeseburger. What's your favorite?
Probably the cheeseburger's the best. The maple bars, I've ate plenty of them, so I have to cut them back. But they are good. There's people standing in line there every day getting some maple bars.
Okay, now I want to just kind of jump ahead a little bit and talk a little bit about the horse racing. What does it look like as far as the parimutuel horse racing on Friday and Saturday?
Well, we hope we have horse races on Friday and Saturday at 1 o'clock. They start at 1 in the 1, and we have parimutuel, and we don't know for sure until Wednesday what we got for entries for horses, but we hope we can draw a crowd. So
okay,
we were expecting a crowd. So
all right, nobody can go to a fair without taking the kids to the carnival. Who's going to put on the carnival this year?
Brown's Amusements here for the carnival. Starts Wednesday at 5. I believe that's tomorrow at 5 o'clock. They open. You can get your passes. You can pre-buy passes right now. Either come down to the fairgrounds at the ticket office or go to Taco Bandito.
Okay. Now, tonight, you said you've got the Team Ranch sorting that you're setting up for, and I've heard that this is really a well-attended event. Give us a little background on what they do and when it starts and all that type of thing.
I believe it starts at 7 o'clock. There's teams of 3 that have 10 cows in a pen, and they have to sort them out in the numerical order. And I know it'll be from 7 till probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning if all the teams show up. So it's well attended. It's free of charge. Just come in and sit down and go buy your hamburger from one of the places and sit down and watch the ranch sorting.
All right. Well, now listen, the only thing we really haven't talked about, well, 2 things, is the Great Big PRCA rodeo that starts on Thursday night. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Thursday night will be the first night of the rodeo, and we are Man Up night, so make sure you wear purple for the Man Up Crusade. domestic violence deal. And then on Friday, we've got the Tough Enough to Wear Pink, as always. So wear your pink outfits. And then Saturday night, we do a Patriot Night, we honor some veterans. That's a good deal. All performances start at 8 o'clock. There is a few new seats. We got some new bleachers down here that are reserved seating. If somebody they don't want to come and bring their blanket hours in advance, we've got some new seats down here. So go online and buy some tickets, or come down to the fairgrounds and you can buy tickets in advance to come to the rodeo.
The one thing that we didn't talk about too much the last time, and I want to highlight it again today for the great work the kids do, and that's the stock sale. Tell us a little bit about when and what's going to happen.
Yeah, the market animal stock sale is Saturday morning. There's a buyer's breakfast, and that's not limited to the buyers that have the lot. If you're even interested in coming to the sale, you can come to the buyer's breakfast, get your number, get you signed up. Starts at 7 in the outside show ring, and then it's 8 o'clock. They start the sale in the inside sale barn. Just bring a number and a checkbook.
Okay, bring your number and a checkbook. All right. Listen, Ryan, anything else that I've overlooked, please give us the information.
I don't know what you've overlooked. I'm just trying to remember what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay. And if people want to check out what's going on at the Cassia County Fair, I'm sure you've got the website memorized. What is it?
Yep, CassiaCountyFair.com. You can go on there. It has our full schedule, that says what's going on, and you can also go on there to buy the tickets. Or you can come down. We don't charge admission. You can come down anytime, eat, leave, and park, and it's a community event.
All right. Ryan, you've done an outstanding job for us. We appreciate it, and we want to urge everybody to be in attendance at all the different events, fun events, at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo this year. By the way, quickly, how did the concert go with Aaron Watson and Ned Ledoux?
Oh, the concert turned out great. We had a great crowd. Probably one of the better concerts we've had in the past 3 or 4 years, so well attended. The acts were good, so it was a great one.
All right, well, I'm going to urge you to go find a shade tree about 3 o'clock this afternoon, take a little siesta. You're going to need it. Ryan Samples with the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, thanks for being on the program.
Yeah, thank you, Zeb.
All right, buddy, take care. Thank you. Nice people at your Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo going on right now. Oh, boy, I want some calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. We'll talk about any of the subject matter that we talked about so far for this morning. We can talk about North Korea. We can talk about the eclipse. Honestly, somebody call me on this. I'd like to hear your opinion. Is the eclipse, to you, as big a deal as it seems to be for thousands and thousands and thousands of others? There must be something wrong with me because I'm not that jacked up about the eclipse. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a historic event. Oh, yeah, there are literally millions of people, I should have said earlier, that are really, oh, my goodness, I got to take off work. I'm going to be gone for the day. I've got to attend this party. We're going to go camping out in this field. We're going to sit there. We've got our glasses. We've got to watch this. Oh, I'm not that excited about it. What's wrong? Give me a call quickly and let me know your thoughts at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I do know from talking to Kyla over at the Chamber of Commerce, don't look at it with the naked eye or even a pair of sunglasses on. That's not good enough. No. You could permanently damage your eyesight. They've got special glasses for that event. Don't forget Let's Ride. Give me a call quickly. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Fridays, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4, and they're waiting to serve you with the best of four-wheelers, side-by-sides. They've got everything over. You want to walk in that showroom from the front door and just stop and look left, right, left. Holy cow, they get all that stuff in there. It's amazing. Stop over and see them today for fun outside of Idaho. Absolutely. You're going to love the outdoors more by stopping at Let's Ride. And a super accessory department and service department. It's all over there for you at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it's really true. This is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today. Come on, quickly. I see in the paper yesterday they even have a solar eclipse train in Illinois. And the whole train sold out in 22 hours. And it said here in the story, next week's solar eclipse is delivering some welcome financial news to Amtrak. The National Passenger Rail System special round-trip train service to and from the best eclipse viewing area in southern Illinois is sold out, and it's sold out in less than a day. And early on the morning of next Monday, the 21st, 409 passengers boarding at Chicago's Union Station, I've been there, and in Champaign, Illinois, will ride the special train all the way down to Carbondale and watch the eclipse. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. I have a cousin who lives in your own home state, Wisconsin, up in Superior. About as far north in the United States as you can get.
And it's cold up there.
Places.
Right.
Anyway, she's driving out to Idaho to spend the eclipse night with her cousins in Idaho. So I think it really does mean a lot to some of the people who live off of the normal track of where this kind of thing might be so obvious.
You know, Chris, let me ask you. You and you're a lot younger than I am, but maybe the same generation.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pass the check. All right, listen, but are you absolutely infatuated with this eclipse situation, or are you like me, come see, come saw?
Well, no, I think it's really interesting, and especially when you can do it with your kids and they can see these things that are amazing about the world and the places beyond. I think it's important that kids know what these things are and what's happening, and too many people do take it come see, come saw. It doesn't happen every day.
Well, no, and it probably won't ever happen again like this in my lifetime, or yours, or a lot of people. But the thing I'm saying is, I mean, to take off work and to travel thousands of miles. I know, like up in the Salmon Chalice area, I heard that everything is, that they've even started renting bare pieces of ground out in pastures for people to put up tents. I mean, holy moly, Chris.
Well, you might as well make it into a money-making event if you can. For heaven's sakes, people need to discover their United States, and sometimes when they're forced across the country, maybe they might find out something neat about Idaho. Well, of course, this cousin of mine, her mother was born in Idaho, and she's been to Idaho probably one every 5 years or so, because she loves Idaho.
Yeah.
But in Superior, Wisconsin, do you know where that is?
I do. I've been there many times.
North from Duluth.
Yeah. And I can tell you one thing.
Quite an interesting part of the world.
Yeah.
And she's got the time and the money, and she's coming out to see the eclipse with her cousin.
I can tell you one thing with self-assuredness that I can never be corrected. Superior, Wisconsin in the wintertime, not a good place to live.
We don't know why they called it Superior, but I went back there and spent a year going to college because I had a college professor uncle and was able to go for cheap. Besides that, and it was cheap up there. Anyway, and I loved it. I've never seen so much snow in my whole life, and it's something that's worth experiencing. You can actually really get snowed in.
Yeah, but that's something that I remember from my childhood with not the fondest of memories.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm raising your not fond memories. But anyway, we'll appreciate the eclipse.
All right. Chris, God bless you, and I really mean I thank you for your phone call. Thank you so much. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, it amazes me, people that have never experienced an upper Midwest winter. I'm serious about this. And I'll tell them about how deep the snow is and how cold it gets and stays. And they'll kind of look at me like I took a severe blow to the head or something. But, oh, my goodness. And then people like lovely Chris just said, oh, I really enjoyed it. I've never seen so much snow. Yeah, but when you're born into that situation and year after year after year, in order to get out to the barn, it meant like you better have a shovel with you, buckwheat, because you're going to be digging for a long time. That was not fun to me. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more, along with the personalized service of making sure that you're protected by people that are dedicated and very responsive to your needs. Call them and make an appointment today. They really care, but you have to take the first step. Give them a call. Tell them what you're looking for. And the number is 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really nice people. By the way, too, when we mention nice people, I want to highlight our friends over at Autumn Haven. Oh, my goodness. We've had Amy on our program on numerous times talking about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. And I urge you, if you have a loved one that needs that little special assistance every day, this is really a great place. It's the only assisted living facility located in Rupert, pardon me, and the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And they urge you to come by and see their facility anytime. Take a tour. And they've always got a lot of fun things going on over there at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. Remember, they're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Holy cow, in just a few minutes, we're going to have Raheem Kassam on our program talking about his brand new book. But what I want to do is I want to talk to you real quick. My good buddy George Mass sent this to me, and I've got to get this on the air a little bit here this morning. I talked about it yesterday. The second annual Patriotic Car Show and Swap Meet. Now, it's going to be on September 9th at the historic Rupert Square. And it is historic. Everything that goes on over there, man, that is such a great place. And standing for the red, white, and blue, September 9th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Rupert Historic Square, sponsored by the City of Rupert Combat Vets Association and the Rupert Veterans Memorial. They're going to have classic cars there and race cars, community flag retirement. Oh, yeah, here's my favorite part, food, lots of food, entertainment, and vendors. All of this at the second annual Patriotic Car Show and Swap Meet on September the 9th. That is not that far away, so put that on your calendar at the historic Rupert Square. Okay? Let's see, what else did I have? I had another note I wanted to get on the air. And tomorrow, don't forget, I wanted to get this on the air. A lot of people have had questions about hunting season at the various units for the fishing game. Tomorrow, if you have any questions regarding the hunting and any kind of restrictions on fire or whatever, just give Kelton Hatch a call. He is going to be on my program tomorrow representing the Idaho Fish and Game from 10 to 11. Good heavens, he hasn't changed the time. I just made the mistake. 10 to 11 tomorrow, and that's the Idaho Fish and Game Report with Kelton Hatch. So if you have any questions about this hunting season, please give him a call tomorrow. Old Kelton, he'll tell you he has all the answers. Right now, we're going to go over to the main studio, and my little bitty buddy over there has got our next guest ready to go on the program this morning, and I'm really excited to have him come on our program. And I saw him last night on Tucker Carlson, and I guarantee you I'm going to be giving him more time and more exposure than he got last night on Tucker's program. And we say good morning to Rahim Kassam, the author of the book No-Go Zones, How Sharia Law is Coming to a Neighborhood Near You. And Rahim, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Well, thank you. I appreciate more time. I thought for a second there I was going to be named as your little bitty buddy.
Well, I saw you on TV last night. I don't think either one of us are going to be little bitty buddies to anybody.
Yeah, it was a shame we didn't have more time. But, you know, you've seen the news cycle as it is at the moment. I don't blame Tucker for that.
You know, you don't mind if I call you Rahim, I hope.
No, please.
I've read portions. I have read portions of your book, and to be quite honest with you, it is absolutely riveting. And I compliment you on this book. I just barely got it into my studio via the mail yesterday, and I cannot wait to finish it. But boy, I tell you what, when you say no-go zones, Rahim, what are you really referring to?
Well, firstly, let me thank you for your compliment there. It's actually really kind, because when I started, in fact, when I concluded writing this book, my worst fear was that I would do interviews on this, and the predominant reaction would be, "Wow, what you've written here is really terrifying," and that's not what I'm going for. And you said riveting, and I'm much more pleased with that, because this is not meant to be an alarmist book. This is meant to be a realist book. This looks at mass Muslim migration into the West, and it looks at, you know, how there is this not just lack of integration or assimilation or whatever you want to call it from Muslims in the West, but that it's actually getting worse by generation as well. Usually, I mean, the United States of America probably has the best record of this in human history. Usually, when immigrant groups settle and they ghettoize, like the Italians did and the Irish did, and so on and so forth. When that happens, usually the next generations integrate, assimilate, move out of those ghettos and move on up, effectively. But we're not seeing this. We're not seeing this with vast swathes, very, very large parts of the Muslim populations across Europe and across the United States. That is not to say that it isn't happening at all. I mean, you know, take me for an example. My parents were Muslim immigrants from Tanzania, and their parents were from India, and you know, I've done just fine at fully integrating, and so have my siblings. But for vast chunks of these communities, it's not happening, and so I sought to explore just what was going on in Europe. You know, we've heard stories that there are up to some 900 no-go zones across Europe. So I decided to pick some of the most notorious and most famous to go to and explore that. And then I came here to the United States, and I started looking at heavily Muslim migrant population centers in the United States too, and tried to draw parallels or try to draw distinctions where there were some about just what was going on here.
Let me ask you this. First of all, kind of a statement, and then a question. My statement would be as follows, Rahim. I have developed over the last, let's say, 10 years, a fear, underline that word, fear, of Islam and Muslim influence in the world, i.e. with the Sharia law practices trying to become more dominant in certain areas, and then, of course, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, etc. Tell me, are my fears mal-aligned, and should I quit my fears and not be Islamophobic, or do I have a point?
Do I still have you, Zeb?
You sure do. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, line's a bit crazy here. I'm in Midtown Manhattan, and it's a little bit patchy here. Look, you know, a phobia is an irrational fear, which is why the word Islamophobia makes no sense. A lot of people have very rational fears about Islam, and indeed, the people who have the most rational fears about Islam are people like me who left Islam, and people who have been, victimized by other Muslims. I mean, people who have been threatened, who have had their houses firebombed, girls who have had their genitals cut, women who are forced to cover up with a niqab or the burqa. Those are all rational fears, and I don't see why you shouldn't have those fears as well, given Islam's history and given what we know about Islam in the West at the moment. I mean, when you look at the public polling that's freely available, and I go into some detail about this in the book, amongst 16 to 24-year-olds in the United Kingdom, Muslims, about one in 4 of them believes that there is justification for terrorism, believes that the Charlie Hebdo attackers, remember this magazine where the staff were murdered for drawing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad and making fun of Islam, they believe that's justified. And so I don't see why you shouldn't be afraid. But the only reason I can think of is that fear consumes a vast amount of energy, and actually the energy that we have should be spent on tackling this issue and put into actually making sure that the people we put into public office know about this stuff, that they know that we'll kick them out if they don't do anything about it, and frankly, doing what the left does so well, which is organizing and protesting and demonstrating and petitioning and calling. All of these things are what we need to do, and so I just wouldn't waste your time with fear, quite frankly.
Let me ask you this, Raheem, and phrase it to the point where it was addressed to me by one of our congressmen. I had Congressman Mike Simpson from Idaho on this program about 3.5 years ago, and I was questioning him on the validity and the sanity of involving the Obama administration with so many more members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And he basically said that I must be a McCarthyist and I'm just trying to look for problems. I think the problems are here in this country, and I think that many of our politicians are very naive as to what's happening. How would you respond to that?
I think there is an element of naivety. I also think there's an element of treachery about what's going on here. Do remember that a lot of people have vested interest in mass migration. They have vested interest in low-skilled workers who they have to pay very little amounts of money to underwrite the bottom lines of the big corporations that send their lobbyists to Washington, D.C. So there's naivety, but there's also treachery. Look, when it comes to people who can excuse President Obama and Valerie Jarrett and all of the people that they surrounded themselves with, and even in this White House right now, quite frankly, there are people that should not be there, who have allegiances, alliances with the Arab world and the Muslim world, who are pulling this president off course, and there are holdovers from the Obama administration who are still in that White House as well, that need to go too. But when it comes to Obama specifically, and this is what I'm taking away from your question, but if you want me to go in a different direction, please just say. In his Cairo speech in 2009, he quoted from the Quran. He quoted chapter 5, verse 32, which is a line that says, if you take one life in Islam, it's like taking the life of all mankind, and if you save one life, it's like saving the life of all mankind. And he stood up there with a smug look on his face and basically declared that's why Islam is the religion of peace. If he had read the very next line, which he chose to omit from his speech, then he would have read that the Quran justifies the chopping off of the hand and the opposite foot of anybody who is causing, quote, mischief in the land. Now, mischief in the land in the Quranic sense is stopping the advancement of Islam, not just as a religion, but as a political ideology, as Sharia dictates. And that's why, the book is called No-Go Zones, how Sharia law is coming to a neighborhood near you, because Sharia isn't just a legal system, it's also a political system, it's also a culture, it's a way of living. Sharia goes right down to which side of your body you should sleep on at night if you're trying to live your life in the way of Muhammad. Sharia goes to how your cows should be slaughtered before you, and how the blood should be drained before you eat them. It's all encompassing. And so when Obama does does something like that, he knows full well what he's doing. And again, I have a slightly more authoritarian take for things like this, given that I'm British and therefore of Europe as well. I hate saying European, but of Europe as well. And we look upon these things with a very, very dim view indeed.
Let me quote from your book, and I again want to stress the fact I have not read every page, but I went through there with a highlighter, and I found one paragraph that really stood out, and I want to read it and then have my audience listen to it, and then you respond. Quote, "No-go zones are not just physical localities in the suburbs of major European cities. They're also a mindset of ghettoization, and curiously, a mindset of both supremacy and victimhood that occurs concurrently in minority and majority populations. This no-go zone attitude and actual being, you say, is coming to America, and is our naivete going to hurt us?"
Well, absolutely. I mean, isn't it funny now that, in fact, I was rereading parts of the book yesterday ahead of going on Tucker, just to make sure I had my ducks in a row, and I realized that there were much better turns of phrases I could use. So the paragraph you just read out there would have been better summarized by saying, "I'm better than you. Stop bullying me." That's the mindset these people have. We are superior to you, and yet we feel victimized by you. Well, this is a nonsensical false dichotomy. Look, they're already here, okay? You only have to look at what happened in San Bernardino when that terrorist attack happened to realize that they're already here. Nobody wanted to address the underlying causal factors behind what happened with Saeed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik. They were radicalized. She came from a radical place already, and he spent his time at a Tablighi Jamaat mosque. This is a cultish sect of Islam that demands that you basically give yourself over to them. This is the largest sect, by the way, the Deobandi sect in the United Kingdom today. We fool ourselves by thinking, we talk about Salafism, we talk about Wahhabism, we talk about Al-Qaeda, we talk about ISIS. Therefore we know what's going on. I'm really educated on this issue because I know those buzzwords. Well, that's not true, unfortunately, and it's a cop-out if anybody out there believes that just because they know what Salafism is, that they truly understand what nefarious elements are operating within Muslim communities here in the United States and abroad.
Absolutely. Raheem, when you hear a moo of a cow on my program, this is old Zeb at the ranch, it means that we have a call. We do have a caller. Go ahead, you're on the air, please.
Well, Raheem, it works like this. I know you're the expert, but I study. And see, the peer pressure in America is that if you stand up and speak out against this, then you have some sort of a phobia, see? And so you cower back. And then it's the same way with the Muslim community. If you don't stand up for radical Islam, then you're pressured, you cower back. Because not every Muslim is crazy, but they suffer from the same things that we suffer from in America. The peer pressure, when we don't stand up as individuals who know better, then we suffer the consequences. And everybody's categorized. And standing up, I don't know. It seems like we've lost our courage. I'll hang up.
Would you respond to the caller, please, Raheem?
So many great points, and points very well made. I wrote about this phenomenon of Muslims being targeted recently in an article for Breitbart called "The New Uncle Toms." I mean, I've been called this myself. I've been called a house Muslim. I've been called a coconut because I don't stand up for Sharia or radical Islam. Majid Nawaz, who was a former extremist, a former radical Muslim, and reformed, and is now a liberal commentator in the United Kingdom. He was put on a hate list by the Southern Poverty Law Center. He is still a Muslim. He's a practicing Muslim, and he's being called an Islamophobe because he doesn't want to endorse Sharia law. The same with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, the same with Raheel Raza. It's happening all over the world where the moderate voices are coming out because, like your caller just said, not every single one of them believes in this, and when they stand up and talk about it, they are. I mean, I've got stories of people whose houses were firebombed. We know people are routinely killed. Thankfully, not so much in the West, but it happens in the West, too. In 2015, a Muslim shopkeeper was murdered by another Muslim simply for wishing his customers a happy Easter. They considered that to be haram. They considered that to be outrageous in Islam, and so they murdered him as a result. You know, that should be front-page news everywhere in the world when that happens, and we just gloss over these things. Instead, we want to talk about, you know, Russian collusion and spend 8 months talking about that when there are real human tragedies going on, and they all hark back to a radical or literalist or fundamentalist interpretation of Islam. And just on the back of the Islamophobia thing, you know, it's got to the point now where when somebody accuses me of Islamophobia, when somebody says you're an Islamophobe in an argument to me, I just say, you know, what's your point? And what? So what? You know, you have to force people to argue the issues and not allow them to just you know, just to name call you and shame you into submission. You're an Islamophobe. So what? What's your point?
Let me, if I may, this book is an absolute must-read. I'm just fascinated by the way you've written it and how you address the various subjects. But let me ask you this. Here in this area of southern Idaho, we are being forced and coerced into accepting many, many Muslim refugees coming in from the Middle East. And, of course, with them also thoughts and fears about Sharia law. Do I have, as a father, a grandfather, and a person that lives in this area, the right to have fears about these people and their beliefs and Sharia law, or is it something that absolutely is distorted?
Well, without sounding too marketing orientated about it, this is that question is precisely why people should get this book, because you know, you can turn around to people and quote from this book very, very readily, and I'll do that for you right now. You know, let's not worry about what Zeb at the ranch thinks about you know, this migration. Let's ask people who have lived alongside these people in the Middle East before how they felt about living next to them. There is a community of Chaldeans, originally Mesopotamians, in Detroit that I spoke to when I wrote this book, and it's in the Detroit chapter. And the head of the I forget her name now. The head of the Chaldean community, I remember her name was her surname was Hanawa, I think. She said to me, when we see Muslims moving in next door, when we see mosques opening in our area, it's like a form of PTSD to us. She said post-traumatic stress disorder, because these Chaldeans, who are not Muslims, but who lived in Iraq, were persecuted, were killed, were stoned, were, you know, just all sorts of abuse aimed at them by Muslims in the region. So, you know, again, this is how. This comes down to how you argue the toss with the left and with your lawmakers who are trying to shut you down and shout you down. Don't worry about what I think. Don't worry about what Zeb at the ranch thinks. Why don't we take into account what people who have actually first-hand experience think about this? And that is, I believe, the best way to get around these things.
What is it like? I don't want to give too much away from your book, but what is it like to be physically there at a no-go zone? The fears, the trepidations, what is it like?
Well, look, I mean, for your average person, I imagine it would be pretty scary. I mean, luckily, my whole life has been spent in dangerous areas. You know, I've stood in between government forces and protesters in the middle of the Maidan Square in Kiev. So you know, it takes quite a lot to scare me. I was more scared when I, you know, was in these places. I was more scared about, you know, the future of Western civilization than I was for my own safety. But that's just because I don't really think about my own safety in these places, but many people do, and many people should. I was walking through one of the neighborhoods in the north of Paris with a young female friend of mine, French girl, very pretty girl, and you know, we were followed, we were set upon. They were shouting nasty things at her, shouting abuse at her. Some were shouting incredibly lewd things at her in French and in Arabic as well. I've walked through Molenbeek in Brussels with Again, pretty young girl who was shouted at that she should be covering up her head, covering her hair. They were shouting all sorts of horrible, nasty names that I shan't repeat on air, but derogatory names for women, I'm sure you can imagine. You walk through these places, and it's clear I'm an outsider because I don't dress like them. I don't particularly look like them, even though I'm probably closer to looking like them than you are. But I don't particularly look like them. And they bore holes in the side of your head with their eyes. They're very suspicious. The women walk with their heads down if they see you. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I took my camera out to start taking pictures in the middle of the street in Molenbeek, and women literally turned around so that their faces wouldn't be caught on camera. But they had hijabs and niqabs on anyway, so it's not like I would have got their faces. But it's this strange behavior because most of the places you go when you take a camera out, people are quite keen to be in the background of pictures, and the kids like to run up to cameras and play for them and play up to them. But this wasn't happening in these areas. It was something completely different. It was something very, very insular. The feel was very insular. I go into the bookshops and there's Islamic extremist material being sold openly there. It's all in the book, and it's now I think we're at a point where we can have an honest debate about this. There has never been, I can't believe it, by the way, there has never been a book about this before. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. And I'll tell you what, you also had a direct reference to a very good friend of mine that's been on my program numerous times, and that's, of course, the Clarion Project's Ryan Morrow. And your credibility skyrocketed when I read his name in your book, because I think the world and all of his intelligence and knowledge as to what's really going on with the Muslim situation.
Ryan is absolutely brilliant. He's a great resource. The Clarion Project, those guys are, they really get it. There are very few organizations and people, I think, that really get it, and they do.
I want to thank you for taking the time to come on my program, but I want to ask you a favor. Please let me, when I finish the book, call back and try to get you reestablished so I can go into some of the finer points of your book. But, Raheem, you are an excellent guest, a great writer. Tell us, everybody, where you can get this book. Where can it be purchased? No-go zones.
Your best bet at the moment, I believe, is Amazon.com. But if you're not into the internet stuff, then Barnes & Noble, I believe, has copies. Books A Million has copies. I think Costco might even have copies. I've heard from some people that they've gone out and tried to find them already in the last 2 days. It's only been out yesterday and today, and they haven't been able to find them. So as I say, Amazon's your best bet. But by all means, they're supposed to be stocked everywhere else too. But I suppose, you've seen the covers, Zeb. I wonder if Barnes & Noble will want to put that on their shelves.
I tell you what, it's a must-read. I get a lot of authors on my program, but I absolutely, really implore people to go to the bookstore or call Amazon, make a direct order. No-go zones: How Sharia Law is Coming to a Neighborhood Near You, written by a very nice gentleman, Raheem Kassam. I thank you for coming on the program. Please come back.
Absolutely. The pleasure's all mine.
Thank you, sir. It's a great book, and I basically, on a lot of books that I have on my program, I don't have time to read them all, and I go through and I just kind of thumbnail sketch various pages and chapters. This is very intriguing, very honest, and a sincere report as to what we need to be very concerned about here in the United States. Oh boy, right now I got to be concerned about the weather. Wheels is just chomping on the bit over there, waiting to see if I'm going to get my weather in here, and it's brought to everybody by Phillips, Oakes, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. CPAs providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, payroll services, retirement planning, you name it, they can help you, your family, and your business. 2 locations to serve you in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oakes, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather as we saddle up and ride again for this Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day as we head on into Cache County Fair Week. Sunny skies with a high of 82. Tonight we're looking at slight breeze, mostly clear, low of 53. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 85. Looks like sunny and 86 for Thursday. As we get closer to the weekend, Friday and Saturday, looks like sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And I appreciate it, Gina. Brought to everybody by some really good, sharp folks. And they know their business, and they can help you with yours. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. CPAs serving the entirety of the Mini-Cache area for over 50 years. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company in Burley and Rupert. Wow, I'm running a little bit behind here, so bear with me. I also want to say thank you very much to some of the great merchants that invite you to the Cache County Fair and Rodeo, and they include the Burley Veterinary Hospital. Hello over there at 2869 Overland in Burley. And the staff at the Burley Vet Hospital would like to wish everybody a great Cache County Fair, and they say good luck to all the 4-H and FFA members, and they've got 2 vets that are going to do a great job serving you, and they will be at the fair. Burley Veterinary Hospital, along with Perkins Bakery and Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, good eating. I tell you what, you're at the fair, take a little break, get over there and enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Have a great meal and get 10% off on your meal for the entire family. All of this at Perkins Bakery and Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. And last but not least, our friends over at Bedke Treasure Barn, 1558 Normal Avenue in Burley. You know, they've got everything in there. And when I say everything, I'm talking a very unique inventory. Pool tables to barber chairs to football jerseys to fur coats to tools. I mean, everything at Bedke Treasure Barn, 1558 Normal Avenue in Burley. All of these great folks invite you to the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Wow. Whew. Busy morning. And next hour, we've got Dr. History. Now, Dr. History is gone. He's visiting one of his children. And so Gary Shorsman's going to be at the studio, and we're going to be conversing on Dr. History this next hour. And then a great, great interview on another piece that Dr. John Zamirik wrote for The Scream, and I'm looking forward to that. And lots of good things left on our program. I thank you, the callers, all the time for your involvement in the program. And right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels to go to news from CBS, and we will be back in about 7 or 8 minutes right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, take it away, buddy. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back, hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, The Best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. I want to remind you the Cache County Fair and Rodeo in full swing. They're at a full gallop. Tonight, they've got the big team ranch sorting at 7 p.m. And then don't forget tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. in downtown Burley, the great big Cache County Fair and Rodeo Parade. Holy moly! And then tomorrow night on Wednesday, the finals of the Moto Rodeo. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the PRCA Rodeo at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo for 2017. Some of the great sponsors that we have that want you to come on out and celebrate and have fun at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo include Streamline Precision of Burley. Tim and the crew with Streamline Precision, they can and will and have built steel buildings all over the country. Agricultural, industrial, and community buildings. They know how to do the job and do it right. Please call Tim, a good buddy of ours, at 431-7314 or 678-9204. Streamline Precision, inviting everybody to the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Along with Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 South in Paul, and the new location on Kimberly Road, right there at Red Cap Corner in Kimberly. Butte Irrigation, oh, I'm telling you, big per tower rebates from Zomatic and huge discounts from Butte Irrigation make fall the best time to buy your new Zomatic pivots, and the tagline is true. Butte Irrigation, they will get you wet. wet. Butte Irrigation in Paul and Kimberly inviting you to the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. And right now it's time to invite a man to the microphone that is a very, very dear friend. And filling in for, is he not there?
No, he is, sir. We're just trying to figure out his headset. We have everything plugged in like it's supposed to, but we're still trying to get the sound to go through his headphones.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, maybe that's what I love about radio. You never know what's going to work or what isn't going to work. And we'll say good morning to Gary Shoresman. Gary, can you hear me at all?
He can hear you through the speaker on the mixer board, but we're still figuring out his headset.
All right. Well, Gary, good morning. What's going on in your world today, Gary Shoresman? Yes. I love this. Oh, dear. Turn his microphones way up, if you would, please. Gary, good morning. Are you there?
Try again, sir.
All right. We're not going to keep testing this on the air. He's either there or he isn't. Let's go with it, Wheels. Gary, are you there?
He's not. We're still trying to figure out.
All right. Go get some help, and then I'll get a commercial in and get this taken care of right away. Thank you. And I want to remind everybody, of course, on Thursdays, we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days. And that, of course, is brought to you by two great sponsors. We sincerely want to say thank you to A Child's World and, of course, Ambulatory Surgery Center. Don't forget, at 1308 Overland, A Child's World, and they've got all the new fall dresses, baby blankets, and all the baby furniture, everything. It's a family store. All the games, the toys, and the puzzles, everything at A Child's World. Stop in and see them today. Also, the other sponsor of Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10, the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. And believe me, you can save a lot of money on your outpatient surgeries like life-saving colonoscopy and much more. Give them a call and find out what's happening. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World on Thursdays, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Did we get Gary Shoresman on the air?
Yes, sir, we did.
Gary, good morning. How are you?
Fine, I'm plugged in.
Well, holy buckets. We need a full-time engineer just to keep track of all the equipment over there.
He's gone.
Hold up real quick, sir.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe this. Let's tie two paper cups together and then plug the string in. Gary, what's going on? What are we going to talk about this morning?
No.
Well, we're going to have to cancel the segment then and take calls from outside the studio. And please call 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. And we're trying to get through to Gary Shoresman at the station. I have no idea why we're not being able to be heard by him or he to talk to us. One last time. Gary, are you there, and can you hear me?
You?
Are you there?
I can hear you.
All right, let's go. We're wasting time. What is the subject matter we're going to talk about this morning?
Well, Dr. History suggested that I talk about the Snake River and the dealings that went on with, like the ferries, and some of the things that happened along in our local area on the Snake River. And so I've kind of put together a chronological order of how the ferries began and how this country kind of came together with that until the bridges were built.
You know, I'm really interested, like, in the Stars Ferry crossing and everything, and we've lost a lot of time. So, Gary, what about Stars Ferry, as for instance? I mean, what was it like 150 years ago as compared to what the river is now?
Well, the Stars Ferry was a really very busy place, but it was also, as you know, on the Snake River. Anything that tried to cross it, you didn't want to do it on a windy day, or you couldn't. But anyway, it was established in the summer of 1880 by George Starr, and he was a placer miner. And then he was, and that all came to being when the rich mineral mines had been discovered in the Wood River country, and the freight was hauled between the mines and Kelton, Utah. And, of course, to get to Kelton, which was the nearest railroad, the
they had to cross the Snake River. So later his brother bought the ferry, and it operated until 1905. But when they first got here, the Indians were really happy about having the white man here and encroaching on on their property or land. And there are stories where there were, I think it said there was like 22 horses pulling freight wagons that had to be ferried across that. It was 32 mule team over the Keltonwood River Road is what they called it, and then over Stars Ferry. So there was one story I read where they had to wait 3 days because of the wind blowing and the whitecaps on the river, so you couldn't dare put a freight wagon on a ferry and try to get across the river when it's bouncing with whitecap waves. So it was, while it was wonderful, it still had its limitations in terms of the weather.
You know, Gary, let me interrupt you for just a second with a quick question. I was really amazed when I found out more about the Snake River, especially in that area right there by Stars Ferry. The depth of the water in the Snake River, it must vary substantially from one location to the next, because I have literally seen some people almost walk across with water only up to their waist. Was it like that back then, or have things changed?
Well, the ferries generally were located where the Indians had crossed. So the Indians have been doing it for centuries, and when the river was low, they knew right where to go and where to cross from. And so ferries kind of took place there. And, of course, then later on when bridges are built, it didn't have anything to do with the height of the water level. They built what was most convenient for the modern-day roads. Now, an example is the Story Ferry, or the Howell Ferry, just right south of the Minidoka Dam. That came into effect in 1882, and because the railroad had then been built to Minidoka, and so that was a shorter route from the railroad stop or the water stop at Minidoka, and coming south they could cross the Story Ferry and then get across and then go on down to Albion. So that made it new. And then in 1893, when the Albion Normal School opened, the ferry was very popular there, because from Minidoka to Albion it was 35 miles versus what they used to have to travel from Kelton, Utah to Albion, which was 100 miles.
Gary, was the river itself, I mean, now with the modern day, with the dams at Milner and everything else, what was the water situation like? Was the river a much bigger, wilder, more dangerous river back in those days?
Well, not necessarily, because there are stories, like particularly 1919, when there was a huge water problem here. There was no water stored in any of the dams. There was the drought area, 1918, 1919. They shut the dam down to hold any kind of water that was coming through, and very little was given to the farmers. So there was a big, huge water scare in that year, but it all depends on, our water depends on what they get in the mountains. But like down at Black Pine Mountain and the Raft River area and in the City of Rocks, there was a lot of water sources there, but they dried up, and those dry farmers lost their farms because there was no rain, but they didn't have anything to store anyway. So.
Wow. You bring up a really interesting point, Gary, like with the dams at Milner and everything else, and water storage or little ponds or the Oakley Reservoir, etc. Boy, back in those days, what did they do? I mean, they didn't have the water storage capabilities that we have today.
They didn't do anything. They got on their knees and prayed. If there wasn't water, there wasn't water, and it depended on the rainfall. And as you know, we don't have a lot of rain here to sustain crops on this Minidoka Plain. It really depends on irrigation. But there was, it was really tough times, but they were hardy people. They didn't know what we know, so what you didn't know didn't bother you, but they saw the opportunities with the gold mining. That was the main thing for the ferries to start with. And the first ferry was really up north of Idaho Falls early on in the Snake River. And then it's the whole area didn't really get going until Stars Ferry in 1880, but then America, back in, this whole area really didn't come into to be known until Lewis and Clark in 1804 and 1805. And then Jacob Astor's Overland Party in 1811 and 1812 explored the Snake, and they camped on October 24th, 1811, near what is Milner Dam.
Mm-hmm.
3 of their canoes capsized and 1 man drowned, and they called it the Devil's Scuttle Hole. So I'm thinking they must have tried to go through Cauldron Lynn.
Right. Now,
and didn't have any clue.
I want to ask you this about the ferries. We see movies like The Outlaw Josie Wales, where they had the ferry system across the river and everything. How were they constructed? How were they set up? And how expensive were they to try to get the goods and services and the wagons across the river?
Well, to start off with, depending on the size of the ferry, it was all manpower, so you had up to 10 men with long poles on either side ferrying that ferry across the river from one side to the other. And, of course, these men were very astute. You know, they put their nose to the wind to see which way it was blowing and what they were going to have to do. And then, of course, later on, the drag line, the big cables came along to kind of help them. That was powered by horses. So there was a little evolution to that kind of changed everything.
I would imagine, Gary, and you're a very, very good student of history, and you've got so many stories, but I would imagine that maybe the first ferry ride for some horses and oxen didn't go exactly the way they had it planned.
Well, if the river got away from the guys, whoever was on it was at the mercy of what was coming down the river. If they floated flying, but other times if the cable snapped, it would be before they could get any control of anything. It was 3 miles down the river, and depending on what it hit, more than one person got drowned, and I'm sure than more they talked about down where Downard Bridge is by Declo, that they were crossing it, and they ran across. They had to watch about for ice also. Ice underneath these would kind of like go in cakes. They'd break it loose, and then there'd be another layer underneath and kind of lift it up and whatever. But they got the horses off onto the dry land, but the wheels then of the stage sunk into the water.
Oh.
So they were lucky that happened right at the edge of the water because it did save everybody. But if you're out in the middle, horses hooked to a wagon or mules in harnesses, they would drown and be carried wherever they were going to go.
Gary, was it a business that went year-round, or during the wintertime, were they relying on ice on the river to perhaps transport over the ice? I mean, that would not be the easiest thing if we had a bunch of ice flow going down the Snake. Well,
these guys, later on, with the Sweetser Burroughs gold dredging in the 1890s, they had that 16-room, 2-story home that they had on the river, and their job was to go out and in their canoes and chop the ice away from it. Otherwise, it would raise it out and out of the water and break it apart. So, and more than one guy fell in doing it. If you're working and hammering, chopping 4 inches of ice from a canoe. It was dangerous work, but they went year-round. It didn't snow and it wasn't ice all the time, so there was certainly people wanting to get up to the gold mines in different places or coming back. But they also, early on, some of the fourth session of the Territorial Legislature approved a permit, and this is up in Oneida County, up by the Blackfoot River. They charged a wagon and 1 span of horses, mule or oxen, was $3.
Wow.
An additional span was $1.50. A horse and buggy was $1.50. Man and a horse, 50 cents. Horse or mule with a pack, 50 cents. Loose stock per head, 25 cents. And sheep or hogs, 25 cents.
Now,
so anyway, that's how it was year-round, and some of those charters, that ran for like 20 years.
Let me ask you this, though, Gary, and I'm sure you've thought about this with your study of these events. You take, let's say, I don't know how big these rafts were to go across the river. I'm assuming, how many head of livestock could you put on there at one time?
Well, I'm not sure how many, but you had to make sure that the load was... if you put too many, it was going to sink.
Right.
So these guys had a good idea of how many to put on, and then you also had to have them contained so that they all wouldn't go to one side. More than once, I can tell a story about my own father and my grandfather when they, in 1930, were grazing some of their young cattle over here on the island by Frenchman's Island, and put them on a little ferry, a homemade barge kind of thing. They put it across, but the calves all moved to one side, and my grandpa and my dad and whoever else was with them ran to the other side, and just with their weight hanging, he says they hang from the rope on the high side, and it kept them afloat until they were real close to the island, and they got off. But you could move those cows up on a slick a barge or boat or slick wood if they were heading towards the river, but it was the panels that they had attached to the barge that kept them from rolling over, or he said we'd all probably be drowned.
You know, I'm still having a hard time understanding how you could put livestock on a barge or a raft going across the river. Never been on it before, and the animal fear and the absolute fright and flight trying to get off of there. Holy smokes, that must not have been a very safe place to be.
Well, I'm sure it took a lot of coaxing. You know, if you came across with a team of horses or whatever, these guys were experienced. They knew who the horses were in the lead, and if they could get one lead on, another one follow. But they didn't put 40 or 50 head of cattle on these things because you could never control them. They went in much smaller amounts. And like that 32 mule team, they didn't put all 32 on one at a time, or the ore wagon. It was put on and went separately, and the mules went separately.
Well, now, Gary, did a lot of the people that traveled on the Oregon and, for that matter, California Trail, did they branch off and use the ferry across the river, or what did they do?
Oh, sure. If they were heading north, that was their source out of here, you know, or out of the area. If they followed the California or the Oregon Trail to here and they wanted to go, say, up north further into Idaho and branch off from there and not go on to Oregon, of course they took that ferry. And so, but by the time that these people got to this point, they were either going to California or they were going to Idaho. But you did find guys like Montgomery, who did the Montgomery Ferry. He was in the Confederate War, was in Chicago for a bit, and ends up coming out here. And then leaving Albion and then opening the Montgomery Ferry. But he was on part of the Oregon Trail. So a lot of people did get off and find a lot of people in Albion who were on the Oregon Trail got off and decided this is a great place to live and to stop. And another one was the up at Minidoka, and when the railroad came through there in 1883, and the Bartholomew in 1893 had opened a little hotel at the little town of Minidoka. Then Hardy Sears comes that next year and buys it from him. Now, Hardy Sears was from Albion, but he was a Civil War vet, but also got off the trail and stayed there. And then he bought the stage route and the mail route from Minidoka to Albion, crossing the Story Ferry, which became the Howell Ferry by the dam, and went on into Albion and back and forth. So later on, when there was also a ferry down where Downard Bridge is, so you had to be very careful about that too. So he had two different ways he could cross, but going up to the Howell Ferry was much closer.
Well,
so these guys did come off the Oregon Trail.
Let me ask you this then, Gary, and I've only got about a minute or two left, unfortunately. But as far as the crossing of the river with all these different ferry locations, how many years really were they in their prime before somebody or somehow bridges or other modes of getting across the river were available?
Well, about 60 years from the in 1840s. And then on up, the Stars Ferry was 1880, and then up until 1905, the Montgomery Bridge went in, and then that's when this Minidoka Irrigation Project comes into being. And then in 1910, the Downard Bridge is built, the Jackson Bridge is built in 1916, and then the Montgomery Bridge is built in 1919. So that was kind of like the last of the ferries. But see, on the other side of the Stars Ferry was the Henry Shoddy ranch, and he came in 1875 early too, and they kind of diverted water near the ferry, but into the water wheels.
I see.
So there's all kinds of stuff that happened along this river, just between a short point between American Falls and Milner.
I would imagine, Gary, that if somebody was into scuba diving and all the treasure that is in that river from things that tipped off of those rafts and ferries at various times, holy cow, that'd be another history segment right there.
Well, that's a great big if, and I suppose why it hasn't been done is because, as you know, the Snake River is very treacherous with undercurrents, and nobody really dares swim across it or even try it because you're a goner. So scuba diving under there is like you'd have to wait till there was only 2 feet of water and shut the dam down so you could actually do it.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, it's not a safe river.
Okay. Gary, you're the best at knowing about what happened here in the Magic Valley years ago. You really have written so many books, and I have great value for your knowledge. I thank you for taking the time to come over to the station this morning and talking about the ferry system here on the rivers in southern Idaho years and years ago. Gary Shoresman, God bless you, and I hope the rest of the summer is very kind to you.
Amen and hallelujah.
All right. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Filling in for Dr. History, Gary Shoresman, and wow, he never misses a beat. He knows everything about what happened here in the old days, and I really am interested in all those ferries that took care of the wagons, the people, and the livestock back in the 1800s. Right now, we're going to send this back over to our main studios, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And welcome back to our last half hour. Thank you very much for tuning us in. Don't forget Vicky's Country Garden and 185 South, 600 West of Paul for all the Fertilome products, for the bug problems in your garden, yard problems, weed problems. She's got all the Fertilome products right there at her location, Vicky's Country Garden. If you have questions, please give her a call. Stop in. Great lady, great staff serving you with the Fertilome products at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. You stop in and see her today. There's quite a few guests on this program that I keep calling and calling back because they're excellent at what they do. And our next guest is one of those. And his name is John Zemurek. You've heard him many, many times on this program. And wrote an exceptionally good piece again, I keep telling him that, about what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia this past weekend. John Zemurek, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, Seth. How are you doing?
Well, okay, I'm going to state my case on this, and if you agree with me, fine. If not, that's fine, too, because it's always good to have a different side of the story. I absolutely am convinced that the left in this country and some of the idiots on the right are hell-bent to turn this society into a civil war, none the likes we've ever seen before. How wrong am I?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is actually more sinister than that. You did not lay out the worst case scenario.
Oh boy!
You're not cynical enough. You're not a New Yorker. I think what they're trying to do is get people scared of a civil war, scared of public disorder, to the point where they suppress free speech for conservatives and even right-wing nutcases, where they suppress speech for anyone who doesn't fit the leftist agenda. So anyone moderate to extreme right-wing, anyone at all who doesn't fit the politically correct model will be silent. And the First Amendment won't matter. The Constitution won't matter because it will be a threat to public safety. And so what the left is doing with this Antifa thugs is anytime a conservative tries to speak, someone mainstream like Charles Murray or provocative like Milo, or over the top and repugnant like Richard Spencer and the white supremacists. Anytime anyone who doesn't meet their agenda wants to speak, they're going to create a public disturbance. They're going to create a riot. The police won't stop them from creating a riot, so the conservatives will be silent. So anyone who doesn't meet their approval will be silent.
So you'll be giving the veto power over free expression in this country to a bunch of hooded thugs in masks wielding light poles. It's like the situation in Venezuela, where leftist thugs, at the behest, in that case, of the government, are silencing opponents of the regime. Remember that Antifa has physically attacked people just for supporting Donald Trump, just for having a campaign rally. They said, that's racist, we will not tolerate it. Think about that. In America, a political rally being silenced by violent attack by a gang of thugs, and the police do nothing. I saw in Charlottesville one of these Antifa guys lighting an aerosol can, making it into a flamethrower, and shooting it at these people with the Confederate flag. Okay, I don't care if those were Planned Parenthood demonstrators, if those were Satanists. They do not deserve to be attacked with flamethrowers. So we hear about the atrocious event of that one guy plowing a car into a crowd, and that was terrible. We don't hear about the build-up, about the provocations, about how the cycle of violence built and built and built until one side snapped. I tell you what, if Antifa had driven a car into a bunch of white supremacists, we would not be hearing about, oh, it's so terrible, that poor innocent person, we need civility in our system. No, we wouldn't be hearing any of that. He would deserve it. Well, guess what? Antifa deserves it the same as these people, which is not at all. No one in America deserves to be killed or attacked or silenced because of their opinions, period, whatever those opinions are. If people who support pedophilia want to march in the streets, the police should protect them.
That's the bottom line right there, and your piece was very, very well written to explain this, but I've listened to various newscasts, I've listened to various news shows and talk show hosts on television, and quite frankly, in my opinion, after listening to them, the police basically, they're disavowing that they were told to stand down, but what the heck did they do? They didn't do anything to stop this.
No, they never do anything. Look at Berkeley, California. When Milo wanted to give a talk on campus, they let hooded thugs attack us and take it over and silence him. Ben Shapiro, who is a moderate, conservative, Orthodox Jew, he's been prevented from speaking on campus by these same thugs. These people, they love it that there were some Nazis in the crowd in Charlottesville because it makes these people seem like heroes. But make no mistake, they won't let pro-lifers speak. They won't let gun rights people speak. They don't want people opposed to massive housing projects putting put up in their suburbs. They are going to label as racist and extremist anyone who disagrees with them. And if they keep getting away with it, and if they keep being allowed to silence free speech, you're going to see more and more people doing what happened in Charlottesville. If you people, you police, are not going to protect my First Amendment rights from this mob, I'm going to violently defend them.
Absolutely.
That's how you get a cycle of violence in the streets, like the one that led up to the Spanish Civil War.
Absolutely.
The American Civil War.
Absolutely.
You know, in the build-up to the Civil War, the southern states actually outlawed abolitionist speech. You couldn't run an abolitionist newspaper. You couldn't say anything against slavery in the South before the Civil War. Well, once you start suppressing people's free speech on crucial political issues, you're giving them no choice but to either leave the country or start shooting. And we do not want Americans to face those alternatives.
Absolutely. John, we have a caller with a question and a statement. Go ahead, caller, please. Caller?
This is kind of what we're talking about here, rights and stuff like that. But this is basically a different subject. And that's the Bundy trial that's happening in Nevada right now. They need coverage on that because that judge down there is denying everything, and they need help. So that's basically why I called in. Is they've asked for help, and I'm relating that.
All right, sir. I appreciate that, and I will have some more segments on that in the next couple of days, as a matter of fact. John, are you aware of the Bundy trial? If not, we'll go back to the original content of the interview.
I just don't know enough to say anything useful.
Okay.
I wish him all the best. I hope he gets a fair trial. I just don't know the details.
I appreciate that. There's about 4 or 5 gentlemen that really their lives are being transitioned, and I think unfairly, and we're going to have more coverage on that in the next couple of days. John, the trickle-down effect of what we're talking about this morning isn't just in the streets. It's not just with a baseball bat or a Confederate flag. It's going to trickle down right here to my studio and right there to where you're conducting this interview. Your
church is next, because if your church doesn't support same-sex marriage, guess what? You are a hate monger every bit as much as that guy flying a Nazi flag.
Absolutely.
And if you think you're going to be safe, if you think your rights are going to be protected, when these thugs show up and try to close down your church's Sunday service because it won't do gay marriages, you have got another thing coming.
What about the non-committal stance of the churches, regardless of the denomination, whether they're Methodist, Catholic, or Lutheran? It doesn't make any difference. What about the non-committal attitude that the pastors and the congregation seem to have? Oh, well, we better not talk about that because somebody will come in and shut us down. I think the churches overall, and I've said this to you before, are cowards.
Oh, well, listen, most of the responses I've seen from religious leaders to what happened in Charlottesville were simply virtue signaling. Oh, we condemn racism too. We condemn racism too. Basically, don't pick on us. Please leave us alone. Yeah, I condemn racism too. I condemn racism. It makes perfect sense to condemn racism. But riots in the streets to suppress free speech and the police not acting until the violence escalates and somebody gets killed, that's what this is about. If those were pro-choice demonstrators or pro-life demonstrators, it doesn't matter. That's why we have a Constitution. So it doesn't have to be a case-by-case basis where a police chief gets to decide whether or not your views deserve to be expressed in the public square in your own allegedly democratic constitutional country.
John, where are we now on the needle? Let's say on a 1 to 10 scale on the needle. I mean, I'm very concerned that we're almost at a point of no return. Your thoughts?
I think, well, we were just a couple of electoral votes away from that point. If Hillary Clinton had won, our country would be rapidly escalating in a totalitarian direction. And I'm afraid if any Democrat ever wins the presidency again, we are in a lot of trouble, because Barack Obama has shown them the way that he can act without Congress. He can act like an emperor and impose his will via executive order. And the Congress will be too much of a coward to shut down the government and stop him. So effectively, we will live in a one-party elected dictatorship. That's what we face because of the cowardice of too many Republicans in Congress.
John, in your opinion as to where we are today and what we saw in Charlottesville and what could happen in the future, how radio and television could be stymied with free speech and are giving and taking like on this program right now, wow, I mean, what do we do to combat this? What would you tell my audience that they need to do, need to say, or whatever to step up to the plate and make sure this doesn't happen?
I would say fight uncompromisingly for First Amendment rights, for free speech for everyone. Hold on to your Second Amendment rights. You're going to need them. Don't listen immediately. When someone is dismissed as an extremist or someone's called a racist, look at what they actually believe before you buy that.
That's a good point.
Because that's the favorite smear charge of the left. There's a tiny percentage of Americans who believe in horrible ideas like white nationalism. Everybody else is being unjustly smeared. So if people were throwing around false rape charges or false pedophilia charges, I think people would step back and say, wait a minute, let's have some evidence. But now with the racism charge, if you ask the question, well, is that person really racist? Then why are you defending racists? It's exactly what happened under Joseph McCarthy with communism.
Absolutely. We have another caller with a question for you, John. Go ahead, please, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I've watched the churches and stuff you're talking about, and I think that the LDS Church has stood up for themselves, as much as they can, and a lot more than other churches. But if you remember back during Carter's era, they said that the LDS Church didn't have enough people of color in higher positions, and they were going to take their tax exemption away. And later that year, before it came about, they changed that and started, putting people in position whether they deserved it or not out of necessity. I don't think that's right.
Well, I don't either, and I will say this, I don't care what the denomination of the churches are, and I want to make my point absolutely clear again. Whether it's Methodist, whether it's Mormon, Lutheran, Episcopalian, I don't care. I think, and this is me talking, not my guest, I think from the pulpit to the congregation out to the streets, they've got to be more involved in what's happening in this society today, where we are seeing a complete insubordination against rules and regulations and our Constitution. John, chime in and see what you think.
Well, I just think it's interesting that churches which are quiet on abortion, on assisted suicide, on the persecution of Christians in the Middle East, fall all over themselves to denounce white racism. Yeah, white racism sucks, but it is not a major issue in America. No one is being put into camp. No one's being eliminated because of white racism, unless you count Planned Parenthood, which was set up as a white racist organization and kills hundreds of thousands of minorities every year in America in the abortion mills that infest our ghettos.
John, when you put this piece together, what was the response when people read it in the stream? It's extremely well done. You co-wrote this with a co-author, Jason Jones. Have you had any negativity issued at you?
No, not really, surprisingly. I think maybe people see my name and they know what to expect, so they're really hostile to my point of view. They just don't finish it, which is fine with me, because such people are unpersuadable.
What about the Trump?
We've gotten a rather good response. I mean, the message of the article was that the Antifa leftists are the really dangerous threat to law and order and free speech.
Right.
And if you look back in the 1920s and 30s, there was street fighting in Germany between the Nazis and the communists, and the government let the Nazis get away with violence, whereas they enforced the law against the communists. So the Nazis basically had a wink from the government. You could beat up whoever you need to because we really consider the communists much more dangerous. Well, what's happening now is Antifa, which is a radical, leftist, aggressive, pro-communist organization, is being given permission to silence free speech and beat people up because the people they're beating up are considered, well, you know what, they deserve it. Once you go down that road, you're effectively turning those leftist radicals into an arm of the police. They're like a militia, like a thuggish party militia, like you would see in a one-party Latin American dictatorship. I mean, I am not exaggerating. Look at Evergreen State College. They basically closed the place down. A professor had to leave. That happened at Yale. 2 professors were hounded out of the school. They had to give up their tenure because they criticized people having hysterical reactions to offensive Halloween costumes. And the students who led that mob got an award when they graduated, an award from Yale. So, no, I'm not exaggerating. We are seeing a leftist paramilitary movement that intends to subvert the Constitution, and the police and the authorities are letting it happen.
One final thought, John, short answer on this, but the Trump administration and Donald Trump personally came out and immediately spoke about the events in Charlottesville. I thought he said what had to be said, and he was criticized because he wasn't strong enough in his thoughts. Then he waited till yesterday, Monday, came out with more definitive thoughts. But I remember back to Ferguson, Missouri, Obama never said anything for at least 48 to 72 hours. I mean, what's the change here?
Well, it's actually responsible for the President of the United States to wait for all the facts to come in before he decides which side to blame. And if you've seen the pictures of Antifa using homemade flamethrowers against these demonstrators, you might think, you know what? There are 2 sides to this story, and both sides suck. I have no use for the neo-Nazis, and I have no use for the neo-communists. Because that's what the Antifa are.
Well, John, I urge you to keep calling and keep writing. You're excellent at what you do. John Zemerick with The Stream. Excellent article, and thank you for coming on the program. Whoop, we got one time for a quick call. Go ahead, caller, quickly with John Zemerick. Quickly.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I'd like to know exactly who is behind this major Muslim movement to make Sharia law legal in this country.
John, would you like to touch that one?
Whole other ball of wax, but I suggest you get hold of The Politically Incorrect Guide to Jihad. A terrific book that will actually answer all those questions. It's by a friend of mine, William Kilpatrick. The Politically Incorrect Guide to Jihad. It will tell you.
Absolutely. John Zemerick, my friend from The Stream. Excellent article. John, take care. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. You know, there's so many questions and so many answers that are needed in our society today. But just honestly stop and think about it for a few minutes. Free speech, the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment, the right to carry firearms and bear arms, all of these things that have helped make this country great are under siege and under attack by a left that is very well organized and very well funded to try to transition and change forever the complexion of the United States. And yes, I'll say it again, I think our churches need to be better spokespeople, if you will, to the congregations, to alert them as to what's really happening and how and why we'd better stop it. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Oh, all the retail meats in their retail meat department over there, absolutely delicious. You know, if you're like me, and I love breakfast sausage, I love bratwurst. I've got a real thing for brats. Boy, let me tell you, there ain't nothing better than a bratwurst, I'll tell you that. And they've got all the delicious meats right over there at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And be sure and give them a call. Find out. I mean, from the prime rib all the way to the breakfast sausage and the bacon, they've got it all. Scarrows Meats. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather as we saddle up and ride again for this Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day as we head on into Cache County Fair Week. Sunny skies with a high of 82. Tonight we're looking at slight breeze, mostly clear, low of 53. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 85. Looks like sunny and 86 for Thursday. As we get closer to the weekend, Friday and Saturday, looks like sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow. Getting back up there again, and it sounds like great weather for the Cache County Fair. Weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Wow, what do we got cooking for tomorrow? Interesting program. Ed Brodo is going to be on our program. Ed's always a very, very well-known guest at many, many radio stations and television stations across the United States. And he's going to be talking about his book, Tyranny of the Minority. And he's going to be talking about the outrageous events that took place in Charlottesville and other events that might happen here in the United States with the alt-left and the alt-right coinciding for more problems, and I certainly hope that doesn't happen. Dave Bego is going to be on the air tomorrow from Indianapolis, Indiana, and like I said earlier, if you have any questions at all about hunting season or any other questions about where you can go, where you can't go, fire restrictions, etc., Kelton Hatch is going to be on here tomorrow for the last hour with the Idaho Fish and Game. So don't miss that coming up on tomorrow's program. Want to remind you about our major sponsor, and that is, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And I'll tell you what, these people are so hardworking and so service-oriented, they take care of you. And they want you to get where you're going this summer and then return home safely. That's right, they've got all the tires for your pickups and SUVs and your cars and your trailers, like the Backcountry Touring HT, outstanding ride quality, the ultimate in durability. Boy, that's great for your pickups and SUVs. And don't forget the very best in brake service. Oh boy, they've got trained technicians that really know brakes. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more, but the best in service. From your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. I said they're the best. They are. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we're about ready to wrap it up and put it back in the box for today. Thank you very much to all of our guests. I really enjoyed Raheem Kassam with his book called No-Go Zones. I urge you to get that book. I'm going to try to finish reading it tonight, as a matter of fact. And No-Go Zones, new Sharia law, is coming to a neighborhood near you. So pick that one up. Until tomorrow, we'll ride the horse at 8:06 until 11 right here, 3 hours on K-Bar 1230. And then streaming live on the internet all over the world, ZebBell.com. And remember these words: the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.